Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel, Math Made Easy with Sarah in 10 minutes. What I'm gonna do now, we're gonna dive in. This follow up from the last video where I talked about some of the topics I'm gonna talk about, and the first one I talked about was evaluation of polynomial by nesting. Okay, how do you do this? All right, I'm gonna dive straight in. So the first thing is that usually there are 5 rules while doing that. Some 5 rules to keep in mind. All right. When you're doing polynomial by nested, the first thing you have to do is that you have to arrange the terms in descending order. So I'm going to write it here. So you have to arrange the terms in descending order. And when you've done arranging the terms, the next thing down, you have to write down the coefficients of the first 2 terms, okay? So you write down the coefficient of the first 2 terms. Okay? Then when you're done with that, the next thing then you have to add x to the first term and close the bracket, okay? So the next thing, you have to add x. You add x to the first term. And close the bracket. Then when you're done, then you now add x and the coefficient of the third term outside the bracket. So this is the step 4, where you then have to add, you have to add x. Okay, so here you then add x and the coefficient of the third term and you now outside the bracket, then you now close it. Does that make sense? So you add the coefficient of the third term outside the bracket. Then you keep on repeating this step. That is the last rule. Keep on repeating step 4 until you get to the last term. So you keep on you repeat step 4 until you get to the last term. All right? Until the last term. Okay, so this is it. You first arrange the terms in descending order. When you've arranged this, then you write down the coefficients of the first 2 terms. Then you now add x to the first term and you close the bracket. And after that, you add x to the coefficient of the third term outside the bracket. Okay? So you keep on repeating step 4 until you get to the last term. All right. You're like, oh, I don't understand. How will I go about this? All right. Let's have an example. So for instance, if I ask you to evaluate a particular for, let's just say, let's call some numbers. Let's say 4x3 plus 3x squared plus 2x, let's say minus 4. So the first thing is arrange it in the first step. Arrange the terms in descending order. So I've done that already. Okay. Now the first step is done already. Now the second step said write down the coefficient of the first 2 terms. So what is coefficient of the first 2 terms here? This is the first 2 terms. And the coefficient of the first 2 terms is 4 for the first term and plus 3 for the second one. Then the next one said add x to the first term and close the bracket. So I'm going to add that step 3 now. Right, so let me do another color for that. So I'm going to add x to the first term, right? And then I'm going to close the bracket. Are you seeing? Then step 4 now said add x to the coefficient of the third term to outside the bracket. So I'm going to add x now. Put another color. So for step 4, so I'm going to add x to this. Then the coefficient of the second term is what? sorry, third term is plus 2. Can you see? Then I'm gonna what? Close the bracket. Is this making sense? Then step 5, I keep on repeating the process again. So I'm gonna go again. We still have one more here. We still have, I want to add x. I'm going to repeat step 4. Then add the coefficient of the next one, which is minus 4. So now you can see the answer for this is going to be 2x. Okay? Sorry, 4x plus 3x, x minus what? 4. And that will be the answer for that. Is that okay? So this is what we call evaluation of polynomial by nesting. This is what we call the nesting method, all right? So let's do another example again. Let's say we have a question about like 2x4 plus x cubed. Let's say minus, let's say 3x squared plus 5x minus 6. All right. So you can pause the video and try and solve it on your own and make sure and see if you get the same answer I did as well. Okay. So let's start. The first one is arranging it in alphabetical order. 4, 3, 2, 1 is done already. So that is done. Okay. Number 2, let's get the quotient of the first one. The quotient of the first one here is going to be 2 for the first term, and the second term is going to be what? 1. The third step said you need to add x to the first term, and you close the bracket. So it's going to be 2x plus 1, close the bracket. Does that make sense? Then the step 4, add x to that, and you keep adding add a third term. So we're going to add x now. Step 4, 2x plus 1. Okay, you add x. The next coefficient for the third term is minus 3. Close the bracket. Okay, you repeat the same thing. You add x. The next coefficient there is what? Plus 5. Close the bracket. And finally, you add x and what? Minus 6. And that is it. And that is how you do evaluation of polynomial using the nesting method. Maybe I can just throw in one more example just to help us. So let's say the third example I have here, I have x4 minus 3x squared plus 2x minus 3. Okay, same thing. The first step, it's already arranged from lowest to highest. So it's, sorry, from highest to lowest. So it's done. Okay. The next step is what? You have to write down the coefficients of the first one. So for this one, the coefficient of the first one is 1, and for the second one is minus 3. Okay. Now the third step, you add 1 to the coefficient, so it's going to be 1x. Okay. Minus 3, and you close the bracket. So 1x is the same thing as x. So I can rewrite this as x minus 3. Is that making sense? Now, when I've done that, the next step is that you have to add x to the first step. You've done that. Then you have to, after adding x, the next thing you have to put x outside the bracket and add the coefficients of the next term. So we have this x minus 3. We add x outside the bracket, and the coefficient of the next term is what? Plus 2. Does that make sense? Then you keep on repeating the same thing. You add x outside the bracket, and the coefficient of the next one is minus 3. So that will be the answer for that. Okay, and that will be the answer for that. All right, so that is that for evaluation of polynomial by nesting. Okay, so what I want you to do, I want you to go over, pick some polynomials and try and play around with it. Just remember that there are just 5 rules. So technically, you don't need to know the 5 rules. You don't need to cram it. So when you practice so much, the 5 rules then come naturally to you. Is that okay? But for this example, just for starters, just know the 5 rules. So you arrange the term first in descending order. Then you write down the coefficients of the first 2 terms. You add x to the first term, you close the bracket, then you add x and the coefficient of the third term, and after that, you keep on repeating the steps to the last step. So you can practice with more questions, and if you have any questions, just put it in the comments, or just you can directly message me. and I'll get back to you. All right. Thank you very much. The next video, we're going to be talking about remainder theorem. Okay, the concept of remainder theorem in polynomials, and I'm going to see you in the next video. And don't forget to share and like so that people can get recommended the video more. All right. Thank you very much, and I'll see you soon.